Hey, my name is Neal. This is the Natural Balance Masterclass. I'm your host. Neal is not your host. I am is your host, and Neal is the vessel I am is expressing through. And what is natural balance? Well, natural balance is a global movement that's expressing through the hearts and the minds of the people. And natural balance is your difference. It's a distinction of who I am through you. And is that difference, is that exact natural balance that expresses through you? That's a contribution, first of all, in your life, and then overflowing through your life and affecting other people. And so natural balance is authenticity, and it's what's left when you stop doing and you start being. And from this place of being, what's immediately accessible is a state of presence and a state of acceptance and a state of love and a state of peace. And if you're in a state of being and peace and love aren't present, and you're literally being like, you think you're being present in the moment, but there's not the feeling of peace or love being experienced. That's a different presence. That's a different being than the being that I'm talking of and from. And the being I'm talking of and from is the being that is a loving being. It's a peaceful being, and it's a God energy being. And uh, I link God with love. It talks in the Bible about how if you don't know love, you don't know God, for God is love. And if God is love, and um, God's only God's always available, but we actually only ever receive God when we're actually present. And so by being present, we tap into God. We receive God. And when we receive God, um, we can receive for a while, but it's in the giving of the expression of the the emanation of our difference, our natural balance, our unique expression of the I am through us into the world. It's through that expression is how we receive love. It's how we receive God. Because the world, the collective, the school indoctrination camps, the teachers, the our parents, our friends, social media, TV programming, all these things come in and they indoctrinate us. They implant programs into our brain that play out, and what they're playing out is the story of the person who created the program to put inside your brain in the first place. And that story is a story of debt, and and I'm speaking of the specifically the collective satanic hell oriented fast track to making money, like, and then needing to make the money, um the judging things as good or bad. This is what I'm speaking to right now, and that those programs will produce the fruit of debt. They'll produce the fruit of slavery. They produce the fruit of division. The programs of the old world, the programs of the technology matrix, the program of the satanic cult. These programs produce families that where a brother rules over a brother, where literally there's hierarchy, and there's hierarchy in a like a controlling way, and so control is a factor. Knowledge is key in that satanic domain, because you get all the knowledge, and then once you have all the knowledge, you have all the knowledge, but there's something beyond the knowledge, and that something beyond is love, and it's God, and it's feeling, and it's like the feeling is what literally everybody is being, most people are being moved by the feeling, but it's not the knowledge that they're seeking, it's the feeling that is produced from the receiving of the knowledge or the expression of the knowledge. And I'll pause there for a moment. So with the knowledge is exactly that. It's knowledge, and knowing is a super high state. And our ability to learn something is capped to the exact degree that we know. And so if we want to learn something, we've got to let go of our knowing and step into an inquiry, um, step into a question rather than an answer. And then from that question, we can receive uh, learning. And then once we've received learning, it's not that I know the thing that I've learned, it's that I've learned something. I can express what I've learned. It may not be accurate. I don't know that. But the point is I have learned, and I can now express my learning. And that's the point. The point is I still don't know. I just am aware that I've learned, and from that learning I can express. Um, but the ultimate knowing is essentially is God. And I do think we get to a state of knowing and having a full picture, and I think that this state is accessible through the soul's continual evolution through its life, first of all as a human, but even going beyond the human physical earth experience. I think there's a point where a soul literally merges with the divine, with God, and it's at this point, it's at this merger where I think you actually see the whole picture, and and then that is like the ultimate gnosis, the ultimate knowing. And there's been like, I don't know, recently I've heard like some speculation on YouTube about how can you even, what percentage of the divine can be expressed through a human body, because it's essence, it's spirit, and I am spirit emanating through Neal, but it uh like how much of God, how much of spirit actually has capacity to be animated through a body, because the body has is organic in nature, and it's electrical in nature. We have a nervous system that operates through firing literally electrons that then go from our nervous system, and they like connect to our brain, and then we perceive pain, or we perceive pleasure, or we perceive sensation that we've picked up through our nervous system that has been generated from some outside source. So our bodies are electrical. So this inquiry that I've been hearing from people on YouTube, content creators, specifically John Nolan from the Inspired channel has spoken to this, and it's like an inquiry of how much actual God can express through a human body, because the like this, it's organic, but God is spirit, and spirit is expressing through Neal. But to what degree can that, like, if there's 100% God, if there's 100% spirit, what percent of that can come through a human? And what the discussion I've been hearing is that it's like a very minute percentage, like potentially even communicating to looking at Jesus and speaking to how it was a, like, maybe 5% of what was available from divine was coming through Jesus. Now, this is the discussion I've heard. This is not what I'm personally aligned with, because what I personally think and believe is that the divine God can fully 100% express through a human body. Um, but it also has potential to short circuit the nervous system, to short circuit the functions of the physical body when that literally 100% full expression is showing through. And I I think that it's possible, but I also don't know or think that it's ever been done. And I'm open to have a shift in perspective on this. And uh, so uh, this evening is unique in that um, there's something that I've been playing with recently, and the something that I've been playing with is the something of making an offer, like literally putting something out there, and then having potential for somebody to receive that offer. And this natural balance masterclass space is now a space of making offers. So if you have an offer, and if you have something that you want to bring and share with other people, bring it here, and invite other people here, and invite people here that are interested in receiving what you have to offer. And because our offering and the expression of it is natural balance, our offering, just as it is written on paper or an idea in our head, is essentially uh, inert. There's possibly motion with it, but mostly it's just a concept. And then when it goes from a concept to actually being expressed, it's the expression that is natural balance. Because when it's unexpressed, it's like atrophy, and when it's expressed, and when it's expressed, it's expansion, it's growth. And so I'm putting that into the space. And welcome, Dave. How are you this evening?
I am well. I dropped in a little late. I was in the middle of something, and then I realized I was got the timing confused because you mentioned Mountain Time, and I'm like, okay, is that 6 or 7 my time? So anyway, it is 7, and so I popped in. So yeah, hear what you're saying, and are you? Yeah, I guess I listen to John Nolan a lot, and I do tune into his commentary. I think he's a guy that's really plugged in. Um, you were mentioning about God. I guess God mode is what you're talking about, being able to be fully embraced with the God presence. And I was kind of confused about your short circuiting there. Are you saying that if you get into full God mode, that the body can short circuit in some fashion or be disabled? Is that what you're saying?
I think so, because I think the physical body is only has capacity to be able to withstand a certain amount of energy flowing through it. It's like a computer. Like if you put too much information input into it, the thing like heats up, or it literally like fries, like something that's a circuit frazzles or something. The fuse is affected. This fuse, these circuits, I believe, are our nervous system, possibly our lung, possibly our heart. Whatever the thing is, when we get this influx of love, energy, of God presence, I think if we're not used to it and we get a bunch of it at once, it definitely affects our physical body. I'm not even like questioning it. I'm like stating that it does.
No, that's okay. I think what you need to do is ascend your level of consciousness. The shock, I think, the short circuit comes if you're still existing in a lower level, in the 3D. So yeah, you can get a short circuit because the God energy is overpowering. Whereas if you raise your vibration up more towards a 4D, up into the heart level, you're in a reciprocating mode. You're a receiving mode, so it's not going to be as shocking as if you're in a lower vibration. So that's part of the mantra, saying mantras, saying prayers, put you into that higher state of reception, so that you're able to receive it more comfortably without, say, a disruption or a shock, as you say. So that's the practice, in my opinion, is that you have to raise your level up, so that when you do get that God download, if you will, it's more of a synchronicity, not a shock. That's my perception.
And I think you can use that influx to up level your consciousness. Like
Exactly. Well,
it's
that's the
not
point.
like it, yeah, it's not like it always short circuits you. It's uh it's exactly like you said, like you're in a lower state, which is why it would shock you in the first place. And then, but if it doesn't shock you, then it's like it grows you, it expands you. So I just became aware of that.
That's cool. So, well, obviously you're in the journey, and that's exciting because there's a growth, there's an expansion, there's a curiosity is the big thing, taking you on this journey. So your awareness improves, your vibration improves. I'm doing the same thing. I got this book just recently. Is it by Mike Dooley and Sarah Landon? Sarah Landon, you may know, she's kind of she channels the council. Is supposed to be a group of ascended beings, and she brings these messages. And this book is uh, questions by Mike Dooley to the council, and it's really kind of mind blowing because it discusses all these things about what is the concept of God, what is the concept of being human, that we are spirit, that we are, obviously in the 3D, but we can ascend to this 5D experience here on Earth, and live heaven on earth by exuding love, peace, and joy outwardly to all that we meet, and to embrace that flow that becomes the manifest of desire. And it's not necessarily the desire of the carnate, into of your ego. It's the true desire of what your soul wants, is what God really wants to drive forward and expand upon. So they really kind of delve into that in a beautiful way. So it's a really fascinating read. The Dream, The Journey, and God, something like that, with Sarah Landon. Recommended reading. But were you making an offer with this session here, or this place, this natural balance?
I'm making offers like all the time. But like in the time that I've been here, I haven't made an offer. And when I do make one, I'm gonna say that I'm making one before I make it. But what I am, so actually now that I'm like feeling into it, I did make an offer, which is an offer for you to make an offer.
Well, I've been working on the spiritual capitalist masterclass, where we had gone through some practices and some offering opportunities, and I was working on one. I guess I could try it out. Is that what you're asking?
Um, I'm offering, so I'm not like asking. I'm just saying this space, natural balance space, now is a space where you literally can come to make offers. And these episodes are being uploaded to YouTube, so they're not only just being localized, they're going out to the world, literally, on purpose and by design. And welcome.
Fabulous. Um, well, the way we were presenting the offer was to kind of imagine a avatar, a person, or situation people are in. So my whole thing was my offer is about divine relationship, and that it's offering to people, to men particularly, who may be in a dead relationship, married or have a significant other, And, as B.B. King had eloquently said, the thrill is gone. So you're in this relationship, you might have a couple of children, but it's just love lost. You're occupying space together, but there's not really the thrill. So, I personally had been through that whole journey, and I was in a bad relationship. I had a child, and through guilt and shame, I took the woman in with her other daughter and tried to make a family of it, but the love was never there. So we had 10 years of kind of a dead relationship. In fact, the initial, I would say, lust that brought it together fell apart because the love wasn't there. And so my master class is called Ditch the Bitch and Find Your Soulmate. So, and the soulmate could very well be your partner. It's just that you have to reframe yourself to find first the divine relationship with you and God, because that's the basis of where love comes from, and that's where you're not in love right now, because you're not even loving yourself. So in this masterclass, we would explore how to really love yourself. Look in the mirror, look at the blockages, look at the wall that you've built in relationship to God and to yourself. So learn to love yourself, and when you love yourself, you can then give love freely to another human being, and it could very well be the person you're with, and the bitch is actually yourself to a large degree. So when you ditch the bitch, you're actually allowing then the love that you can give to freely be received back. Or conversely, if the person you're with is incompatible, maybe you ascended now in a place of love and knowing that perhaps it is time to move on. So in that, instead of going to the usual places that you might think for a relationship and bars and clubs and things like that, now that you're more ascended in your self-love, you're going to go to places that you love, and you want to be seen by others who will see you in your love. So then you're going to choose different places where you're going to attract the type of soulmate that you're going to find. If that's in clubs and in associations, activities, things that you love. So you start to put yourself in those situations, and all you're doing is, there was a Stephen Stills song very eloquently stated, love the one you're with. So when you're with another human being, you give them love. And amazingly enough, if you do it openly and freely and genuinely, you'll find the soulmate will arrive and appear, and that love will then come to you, and there'll be a match. That match will come. So in this masterclass, we would explore 4 weeks, one session each week, about how to become more self-loving and how to attract that soulmate. And in the end, you'll be in a position so you'll be able to attract that soulmate and actually have that divine relationship finally in your life that'll take you beyond anything else you've ever experienced. And normally, I would charge for this $1,111, but I'm offering a special incentive for folks to give it a try. So I'm only making it $333. So that's going to be a great discount, basically a third, to give it a shot and to discover your divine relationship with yourself and God, and more, and then you'll be able to also attract the true soulmate that is going to give you that bliss, that love, that peace that can exist. You see in other people that have achieved it, and it can be yours as well. So if you want to take advantage of that, I'll give you my email and give me a correspondence, and we'll correspond from there and set an appointment for an initial, free consultation for half an hour. And then if this is right for you, we'll advance into the class and go from there. How's that sound, Neal?
Boom, I love it. I got a question related to it. So, may I put your email in the description of this video?
Yeah, you may. It's my first name, first initial rather, Delozier, DELOZIER, #1 at protonmail.com.
Can you say that again? Actually, can you just message it to me?
In the chat here?
Chat works, yes.
Sure thing.
And then so if you're watching this and you're like genuinely inspired, like you have a relationship that's a lustful and a dead relationship, and you're looking for a divine relationship, like reach out to Dave in the description, um and then you can talk.
Yeah, there you go. So that's just it. Everybody has this fantasy of the perfect relationship, but oftentimes we get involved in, we start out young, oftentimes in a relationship, and we go with what the world wants, what our ego wants, really. But like I said in the beginning, we don't know, we don't even love ourselves. We think the other person is going to bring fulfillment to us when we need to have fulfillment ourselves first. And from that, we can fill another with love. But if we're empty, how are we supposed to receive when we don't have anything to give? So the two sides of the same coin, really. If you want to give love, you have to have love yourself. And most people don't even have that. They come seeking other people, thinking that's going to be the love that they need, which is why there's divorce. There's 50% divorce or more these days. Or what's happening is people are choosing not to even get married because they don't want to face that divorce. But when children get involved, there's elements there that get complicated, and it's an opportunity to really find what true love is, and it really starts within yourself and finding that love with your relationship to God, and from that is the unlimited fountain, which then pours out of you. And like I said, you go to places, you go to play, you go meet people, and as Stephen Still said in my little commentary, love the one you're with, and that means any human being you're currently with, and just present love, as your fountain that's flowing, and you'd be amazed at how it'll come back to you, because and you'll be attracting the very elements of in people that you want, and particularly the opposite sex, if that's what you're looking for, will come to you in a match, because you've put out that divine love seeking a match, and it will occur. So when that happens, you will then feel that spark, and then it expands from there. That type of divine love never tires, never grows old. It's always expanding, which is why relationships continue to grow in love and grow in deepness. And you see people like that too, in their 80s, they've been married 60 years. How can it last that long? Well, they found divine relationship. They found that divine love together, and they're with each other, committed, and through all things, just like the marriage vows, for better or for worse, they take it seriously, but they also know that their love for each other comes from God first, and then can be shared with each other in an expansive, totally beautiful, way as they grow old and age. And that's a beautiful thing when you see that. So that can be available to you too, just by getting clarity and clearing up the garbage and learning how to, number one, love yourself. So that's my workshop, and I'm excited to offer it because it helps me grow as well. I have a beautiful relationship with my wife, and it's a working relationship, but we do have that foundation of love of God first, and from there, we found each other, and there's a perfect match. We have a yin and yang, sort of a blend of energies and functions. It's not perfect all the time, but in that lack of perfection comes more work and the ability to refine and improve and expand. And I am complete.
Amazing. Thank you, Dave. That was powerful.
You're welcome.
The Dream, the Journey, and God by Sarah Landon.
There it is. Yep, that's it. It's not a long book. It's fascinating read. She does a bunch of things on podcasts for free. So she's a loving soul, and sharing the message to humanity, which is wonderful. And it's all related to what I just spoke of too, as well. So all this stuff is related. It's related to natural balance. I mean, isn't that the divine relationship? That's natural.
Say more. How is it related to natural balance?
Well, like I said, if you have self-love, if you have love of God, which is, the internal self that radiates outward, and that is in and of itself a balance, because oftentimes our ego and our soul are in conflict, and that's where all your head games come from, your head trips. So by getting the clarity, by getting that self-love, looking at yourself, saying I love you repeatedly, and internalizing that, you come into a state of balance, and then you can face the world with that balance, and it manifests in things that are natural at that point. There's your natural balance, because you're in harmony, you're in synchronicity, you're in flow. So the balance just works at that point. And also, you're going to know too when you're out of balance, because you're going to get, some. It's kind of like being in a. Um, I'm trying to think about a. Well, it could be like bumper cars. You're going around, you're getting knocked here and there, and your those knocks are your out of balance. Checks. So when you're feeling a
Hmm.
little bit of pain, a little bit of disruption, that means your balance is off, and you got to reset or just refocus back to the balance, go back to the love, go back to the source, and that'll bring you back into balance, that synchronicity. Because when you're out here, it's rough and bumpy. You come together, smooth ride to the balance, back to the balance. But it all comes back to that love, that self-love, and that synchronicity with the love of God, in union with yourself. Then you become a conduit of that natural balance, and then it shows, because you're exuding it at that point. And it takes work, because it's not automatic all the time, especially as you're in the journey. You're adjusting all the time, because you're more sensitive, obviously, too, because you're seeking that natural balance, and you're going to be aware when you're not in the balance, because that's when you have so you get sick, you get some kind of some bad karma, you might even say, or just an event occurs that you might perceive as bad. That's just your need to adjust, and get back into the flow. Get back into health. Start eating better. You maybe had some bad dietary choices. You'll find that in discomfort. Get back into eating pure. Go back to the pure water. Go back to walking barefoot. Grounding is a big part of natural balance, because it connects you to the earth. It zeroes out the static in your body. The earth is filled with negative ions, and we, as shoe wearing, concrete walking humans, we can develop static. So grounding allows us to reconnect with the earth, which is part of our everyday experience. We are really of the earth, so that grounding gets us back to the earth. And of course, drinking fresh water. One of the best things you can do to gain natural balance is grounding near a stream, and taking drink from flowing active water, oxygenated water that's coming from the earth, not through pipes, because that's going to give you a direct connection as well. So the more times you are connected directly to source, and the energy field that is the earth and God directly, the more natural balance you'll have, because you are drinking directly from the fountain of love and life. How's that
Yeah,
sound?
and then when you're drinking from that stream, like you're drinking from the God's filter system. You're the stream is like you're inside the filter when you're there taking a drink.
That's correct.
Um,
Well,
it
especially
is
you add intention to that as well. When you add intention, that in a gratitude prayer of thanks, I'm grateful for this life-giving water. I'm grateful for this grounding energy on the earth. I'm grateful for all the forces of life that are coming through me and from me. Another thing that's powerful too. We talked about a balance of health, and I got this from the Ringing Cedars of Russia, the Anastasia books, and she has a method of planting seeds into the garden, that when the fruits are produced, will give you directly the healing nutrition you need. And that is to take the seeds and the ones you're going to plant. First off, you're going to be sitting on the ground with your hand, with your in the place where you're going to plant, barefoot. Your feet are in the soil. You're digging a hole. You're putting the seeds in your mouth, in your saliva for about a minute. You're working the seeds in your saliva. You spit them back out on your hand, and then you sow them in the ground. That saliva activates the seed and imparts your DNA into the seed shell. So when that plant starts to grow, it picks up your DNA in its growth so that the fruit that it bears is going to have a healing element for your particular situation where you are, given that you imparted your DNA into the seed. So the fruit that it bears will be helpful for your health. That's pretty powerful, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So try that. You're big into planting seeds. Take some in your mouth and roll them in your mouth with saliva for about a minute, and then spit them out, and then sow them in a plot. And then try some other seeds that you didn't do that to, just planted them randomly, and compare the two and see how, and then taste the fruit thereafter and how it affects you specifically.
Yeah, I love this. I'm already implementing it, and I intend to implement it farther. And so there's the saliva with the seed, but then there's also during the growing process of the tree or the plant, you can also use your urine and like apply your urine with a mixture of water to these trees and plants,
You're right.
which is farthering the connection and the interaction with the plant, and it's farthering the DNA and the way that the plant's going to produce for your specific body. And I do this with many plants that I grow. Right now, we have some of the largest pineapples on the property right now, and a lot of urine and water is going to these pineapples. And some of the villagers are like, "Wow, it's like we've picked some that have been half as small as these pineapples, and they were right. But these things are massive, and they're fully green, and they're still growing." Uh, and there's a lot of information packed inside these pineapples. And
Correct. Well,
so,
here's along those lines, Neal. Um, Fun fact. Well, first off, you should dilute it like 10-1 so you don't burn it too hard. But human urine, say a couple, can produce enough urine, enough nitrogen in the urine to fertilize their entire home garden, on a regular basis. So you don't need to buy fertilizer. You are the fertilizer. Just exactly what you're saying with the urine. And it's the potent connection between you and the future food that you're going to have. So the plants are responding to you and your situation where you are with your direct input. Like I said, beginning the saliva, but also the urine. You're exactly right. So that's a great technique to fertilize your garden with the very fertilizer of your body. It's amazing.
and continuing farther with the urine, you're now also reducing, like, I don't know, 3 to 5 gallons of water per day that you're using in your home through flushing your toilet. Because when you're saving your urine, you do just that. You save it. You don't need to flush it somewhere. And when you save your urine, you are also giving, so you're drinking water from earth, or from rain that fell and landed on earth, and then we drink it. When we pee, we're returning that. We're returning this nutrition to earth. And yeah, I know it goes there through septic systems eventually, but using the plants, using nature as a natural filtration system. By the time if I put pee on my garden and I'm using it for my plants, by the time that pee or evaporation or even a fraction of that gets to any kind of groundwater, it's completely clean water again. And what isn't clean has been utilized as nutrition and is recycled into the entire environment. So this is
Sure.
a using urine for plant growth is a multifaceted environmental beneficial thing to do.
Well, there's no better example than cattle on a grassland, especially when they do mob grazing. You know, they're in a concentrated area, they're peeing and pooping on that grass, and then they move on. That grass has a chance to recover, and it comes back in a flourishment because of that added nutrient input while the cows were there. And that's why rotational grazing can be so valuable, because they move to different paddocks, and as they come back around, the ones they started at, the grass has fully recovered and actually benefited from the cattle being there, you know, maybe a month prior. And the grass is that much more fortified with nutrition for that very same cow or cattle that are coming back around again. So it's this loop of beneficial nutrition. You know, the cows are feeding the soil, the urine, the feces, and it'll give it a time to digest and to become nutrient to the roots. And then they come back around, and the grass is that much more uh, fortified with the very nutrient the cows need, which is amazing when you think about it. Because look at the size of a cow after 2 years of eating nothing but grass. It becomes this large animal because of that cycle of self nutrient production. So lessons can be learned from animals and watching, you know, what they prefer, and uh, also the landscape, how it can respond to animals. And if you are, as the human, manage them properly, it becomes a perfect cycle. And then you, in turn, harvest the animal for food. It becomes this complete loop of natural balance.
Yeah, and it's only so natural balance is when it's expressed, but it's only natural balance if it's like regenerative long term also. So if you express your difference and it's only like beneficial for a short time frame, that's not it. Like like your difference is something that has an infinite exponential impact on your life and on the lives of people around you. And so if your difference isn't having an infinite exponential impact, it's either because it's not natural balance, or it's because you're suppressing and not expressing. So if you are expressing your difference, your gift, and it is natural balance, then it is infinite and it does have an exponential positive impact on the entire humanity. And if you feel called to be on this masterclass, and it's occurring every Monday, and I'm literally talking to you, the viewer, watching this on YouTube right now. If you want to come join this masterclass, it's occurring every Monday at 5:00 p.m. Currently Mountain Time, and it's a 1 hour masterclass held live on Zoom. And look in the description, and you'll find the direct Zoom link. So putting that out there, and it occurs every Monday. So you're invited. And now now to the grazing thing. There's so you Dave spoke to how the cattle they choose specific plants that they're eating, and how we can observe what they're choosing. What they're eating translates into their urine, which is nutrition that's feeding the plants. So when you're using your urine, based on what you're eating is the nutrition that the plants are getting. And then as you eat those plants, you're receiving nutrition from what you've already ate, let's say 3 months ago or 2 months ago. So as you start to live in this regenerative way of eating plants, using your urine, and then eating the plants on the urine, on the plants that you use urine to fertilize, and then eating those greens, you're picking up information through your urine, through the plant, from other plants. And so it starts to tap you into this greater picture and bring context to what initially looked like a single puzzle piece, but now you like have half the puzzle because of information. something a lot of people overlook is that plants are information and they're light in form. So they're
Yes.
embodied light, and uh, they're so when they're embodied light and they're pure information, and that information um, we use that as vitamins and minerals. And the pharmaceutical industry has hijacked these natural plant minerals and vitamins. And what they do is rather than having a full spectrum experience of eating a leaf, they'll take that same leaf and isolate a specific alkaloid in that leaf and then concentrate it and then give it to you as a medication. And they call this modern medicine. The entire pharmaceutical industry is essentially the they're just as connected to nature as everybody else. The difference is they're compartmentalizing and isolating compounds, and the regenerative way is a full spectrum, all inclusive model, where every plant is a team player, and there's support species, and there's species that generate shade for less sun tolerable species to grow. And then there's additionally flowering species that bring in birds and butterflies and insects that pollinate and bring beauty and accentuation to the garden. And so what I'm speaking to is the the um, I want to say infinite nature, but it is definitely the infinite nature of plants. But it's definitely not the full picture. It's a glimpse into the infinite nature of plants.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating when you look at the whole concept of photosynthesis and the fact that sunlight can be converted into, as you said, matter using the carbon gas that's in the air, carbon dioxide. And in that process, it releases oxygen, which is what we need. And the plants need the carbon, which is what we exhale. So there's that symbiosis again. And that when you're connected with those, the nutrients of that diversity of all these kinds of plants, that creates a wholeness in the body. And you have that relationship with the plants that are giving you food. That's why I think in permaculture, the ultimate goal is a food forest because you've got that diversity of stacking functions, you've got different levels, and each plant performs a function supporting the other, and in turn supporting you. And then you put your intelligence back into it, guiding the plants, creating guilds, which are just clusters of symbiotic plants around another type of plant, and they all benefit. And then you, as a result, are as sort of like the conductor of the orchestra. You're able to hear the beautiful symphony that comes from that food forest maturing, because as it grows in time, it actually creates more diversity and more strength, so that it gets to a point where it's on autopilot. You don't even have to do anything, but simply enjoy the fruits of previous labor, and bountiful fruits for that, as well as nutritive fruits that are going to be able to sustain you. And when you do a proper guild, you're going to have the food, but you're also going to have the medicine, because much of the ground level is going to be medicinal plants, the bitters, the berries, the things that are going to be beneficial medicinally for you as well. So it becomes like, again, I use the term orchestra because you have all these different plants working together. You're the conductor, and you're able to make that food forest sing, really a beautiful thing. And more importantly, or still in addition to being the conductor, you benefit greatly from that energy that's happening, due to your hand and that of God and the creation. That expansiveness just becomes great joy because it's new every time and every season. It just grows and grows and becomes something even more exciting. So the food forest today will be different than the food forest 10 years from now. And 10 years from now, it'll be even greater, more exciting, and provide more bounty for even more people. That's really where we can go to heal this planet, is create food forests, not monoculture, but diverse, wonderful, symbiotic food for us that provide us nutrition and medicine for life.
Precisely. Recently, I've been interacting with a lady. Her name is Tree Jenny, and she is living here, and she grew up in either Louisiana or Kentucky. But she's lived here a long time, between 15 and 20 years. And this lady is speaking about how trees are also literally the reason that we're receiving rains on this planet. They have a direct correlation with our atmosphere and producing clouds that bring rainfall. And she's speaking to how here at the equator we're planting and we're taking care of things. Not everybody, but some of us are, and how that has an impact. Not only what happens at the equator doesn't just stay at the equator; it goes across the whole world. And I think that statement isn't specific to the equator. I think that whatever you do on the geographic location where you're at ripples out and has an effect on the atmosphere of the whole. And I'm speaking to rainwater, I'm speaking to trees, but I'm also speaking to the energy that you're maintaining within your physical body. Um, whatever energy I'm maintaining in this physical body or feeling and expressing and sharing, that is happening at the equator, and it's also rippling out and affecting the whole world. And I declare that's happening for every single person. And we're navigating from this super dense fear mentality to a loving, uh, embracing, connected space. And that's how the story ends. Spoiler alert, the story
Ah,
ends peaceful, connected, loving. I feel really complete, Dave. Is there anything you would like to share?
well, just reinforcing what you just said there, which is, we are all connected, that our energy goes into the field, and you have to be cognizant of that. You want to make sure that you're affecting the field in positive ways because that affects the whole collective. So we're atoms together in a whole molecule of humanity. So one affects the other. So we see a lot of chaos going on. I think it's part of that transition we're trying to make from their very base level existence to the higher vibration we are all seeking, and it's happening. And it's like the hundredth monkey concept where there'll be a shift suddenly, and it's like, wow, we moved suddenly to this new place, but there was some turmoil along the way that we got to shut off, and that's what I think was happening right now. So you're exactly right. Where you are, plant the seed, pee on the ground, and enjoy the fruits of your labor and positive energy in union with all that is, then all that can be.
And with that, this is the completion of Natural Balance. Thank you, Dave, for joining. And
Thank you, Neal, for hosting.
you're welcome. Good
See
night.
you next time.
Yep.